Now, when I work with bands and artists, every time I mix their vocals, I always add a delay of some kind. In fact, I use 3 different types of delays. So in this video today, I'm going to break down everything I do with delay on a vocal to help make it not only sound great, but add another layer of depth that's really going to make your music noticeable. Hey, thank you so much for being here today. My name is Bobby Balo, and I'm the mixing and mastering engineer at Raytown Productions. And this channel is dedicated to helping you make better sounding music without needing to spend a lot of money on expensive gear or unnecessary plugins. If you're new, welcome. Thank you so much for being here. Be sure to hit that subscribe button because I drop new videos every single week that's going to help you level up the quality of your music. Now, we're about to cover a lot when it comes to vocal delays and how to set them up in your session to really make your vocals sound amazing. And I thought it'd be really helpful if you could just download a PDF that had all of these tricks that I'm about to talk about. So if you are interested, I have a vocal delay guide. It's totally free. You can go and download that. There's a link in the description. It's going to cover all the stuff that we're talking about in this video. And it's going to go a little bit farther and show you some other really cool tricks that you can do with vocal delays. So that sounds interesting to you, go check out the description. There is a link to download this free guide. Now, the song that we're going to be demonstrating all these vocal delays on is by a band called Deer Spring. And these guys are out of Washington, D.C. here in the U.S. So if you like what you hear, definitely go and check them out. They have some new music on the way. I have a link to all of their socials in the description. So I've already gone ahead and mixed this song the way I want it, and I've taken off all of the delays, so we just have a very dry sounding vocal. So let me just show you what that sounds like. Okay, so you can hear, the vocal is right in your face, right? If we want the vocal to mesh with the music, we need to add some sort of effects, either delays or reverbs, to help get it to sit right. And typically, I don't like to use too much reverb because it gives the sense of pushing the vocals back too far. And that's why I tend to use 3 types of different delays. It'll help us glue the vocal to the song without giving it a sense that we're necessarily pushing it back too far. So first of all, the general strategy we want to follow when we're using delays is to set up a delay auxiliary track or a send effect if you're in Cubase like I am. We don't typically want to put the delays directly on the channel because if we do any other processing or we want to add plugins after the delay, it's going to affect the sound of the delay. So we like to have those separated because then we have more control over our vocal sound. So how do we separate that? You make what's called an auxiliary channel or a send effects. In Cubase, they call it send effects. And so basically, it's just a new channel that we're going to send some of this audio from the vocal track directly to. So let's do that now. So we're going to make a stereo. Be sure you make a stereo, otherwise some of these delay effects aren't going to work for you. So a stereo auxiliary or a stereo send effects. And the first delay that we're going to use is going to be a quarter note delay. I tend to always tempo sync my delays to the tempo of the song. And that I find is super important because 1, it helps to enhance the groove of the song, and 2, it makes the delays and all the echoes less distracting, which is huge, right? We want the listener to listen to the vocal, not be distracted by the echoes, right? Here's my send effects in Cubase. This is the channel. We're going to add the delay to this channel. I really like this H delay by Waves. It just has all the different features that I really like on delay plugins, all built into one super easy interface. Something about this particular plugin is turn this analog thing off. This adds a ton of noise that I think really builds up, especially on a vocal track or if you have lots of vocals. So just get rid of that. The second thing that's super important, anytime you add any delay to an auxiliary track, is you need to make sure that the dry wet knob is 100% wet. If you're any percentage dry, it's going to add some additional volume to the vocal anytime you send to this delay track. And we don't want that. We just want it to be an echo. We don't want it to be an echo plus the main vocal. So make it completely wet. So I tempo time all my delays, like I mentioned. In this one, I'm going to do a quarter note. And often when I work on music, quarter note delay is about the right length to glue the vocal to the song. Sometimes the vocal phrasing might be really fast, or maybe it's really slow. So you might want to push this to eighth note if you have really fast vocal phrasing you want to keep up, or maybe it's a really slow song, so maybe a half note would be better. Okay. And just experiment with this. So typically this type of delay is just here to add a layer of glue to the song. So just something I want to bring up really quickly, just in case you don't have a delay that will sync automatically to the tempo of the song. So if you don't have something where you can adjust the notes, right, and you just have something like this where all you have is the number of milliseconds, you can calculate the correct number of milliseconds is for the tempo of the song. And I'm going to teach you how to do that really quickly. This particular song is 154 beats per minute. So if you know that, all you have to do is do 60,000 divided by the tempo. So 154. And this is the number of milliseconds you need for a quarter note. Okay. So if you want to do a half note, that's going to be twice as long. So you multiply that by 2, and that's now a half note. So this would be 779 milliseconds. If you want to do an eighth note, you would divide it by 2. So if you want an eighth note, it'd be 194.8 milliseconds. Okay. So that's the basic math to do that. If you divide it by 2 again, that's now a 16th note. Okay, and you can divide it by 2 again, and that's a 32nd note. You can use that trick if like I said, your delay doesn't have the tempo syncing feature. So let's send some of the vocal to this effect so you can hear what it's doing. Under sends, we're going to choose that quarter note delay. So we're just going to send some of the signal from this track to the delay. Here we go. So the first thing, it's going way too long, right? So the number of times that vocal is echoing and repeating, that's controlled by what's called the feedback. So we're going to want to dial this way, way back, and we just want to have it repeat maybe 2 or 3 times. We don't want it to go really long because that's going to start smearing the image of our song, okay? We just want it long enough to kind of string together all the vocals and glue it to the song. So let me set this feedback just so you can see how to connect it to the instruments. So that's about 2 or 3 echoes, right? Yeah, so something like that. So right now, 10% is what I have it set to. Let's hear what it sounds like in the mix. See how distracting it is, though, right? The echoes are so loud. There's 2 things we can do. The first thing is, let's lower the volume that we're actually sending to this delay. And then the second thing I want to do is hide the echoes a little bit more in the mix. So the way we do that is by rolling off some of those high frequencies, because if you have a consonant sound like a T or an S, those tend to jump out on the mix. And if we roll off a lot of the top energy, it will hide those sounds. It basically gets rid of them. So you just hear the meat of the vocal. And because it's the delay, it's the echo, and we're just trying to connect the vocal to the song, this is a really good strategy to help glue everything together without making the echoes jump out of the mix. So let's do both of that. So let's set the volume by reducing the send, so then we can adjust the volume of the echo, and then we're going to roll off those high frequencies until it almost sounds like we can't hear the echo anymore. So let's do that. It's still a little aggressive. Let's go back a little bit farther. All right, cool. So that's a good level, I think, for right now. But you can hear, like, tempered thoughts, like that S, it jumps out of the mix. So let's roll the frequencies back and tuck it in. Tempered thoughts of reason will define this inevitable decline. A hint of nostalgia will pass it in. So again, listen to the echoes, not the lead vocal. Into madness, down we go.
the smallest push in the right direction. I'll be
So right around here, we lose all the sharp S sounds and the T sounds, all those consonant sounds. And if you look, the low pass is actually at 1.7K. So we're getting rid of everything from 20 kilohertz all the way to 1.7K. It's like almost like a telephone effect at this point. Now, something else you want to do is to also roll off some of that low frequency information that's from the deep chesty part of the vocal. The reason being is those frequencies are really abundant in a lot of songs, and we don't need extra low frequency information there, especially from the vocal. So what happens is that's how you make a song really muddy really fast. So let's dial this up and listen for the vocal delay to get a little bit more crispy sounding.
waiting down at the bottom for you. Yeah, I'll be waiting. Your temperature is cold while you've been.
Okay, I think I got a good spot for it. Now let me just play the echo so you can hear the tone now.
Walls cold and you've been at it for quite a minute now, but I'm.
So it sounds like a telephone effect, right? But now in the mix, it's adding glue, but it's not distracting. And it's just helping to blend everything together. It's amazing. So let's bring back the vocal. Cool. So you can hear it. It just adds this nice little layer there. And if you can distinctly hear those delays, then it's too much. You got to roll that back a little bit more. Okay, let's talk about the second delay trick that I like to use on my vocals. So again, we're going to set up another auxiliary track, and this time it's a ping pong delay. So what the heck is a ping pong delay? Let me show you what this is. So again, I'm using Waves H delay, and to activate a ping pong delay, you have to make sure that you have a stereo auxiliary or send effects bus, and then you just click this little ping pong button. And what this does is it's going to put a delay, and it's going to sound like you're playing ping pong. There's going to be an echo on the left side, then the right side, then the left side, then the right side. Now, if you just abuse this plugin and you just go all out, it sounds pretty psychedelic. Let me show you what it sounds like by default.
Rising in.
Yeah, it's pretty crazy, right? It's like way distracting. So we need to be really careful with this one. Now, I also time this to the tempo again because I want it to go with the groove of the song, especially because this is kind of a weird thing, right? We don't want to distract the listener from the song. So I have it set to maybe an 8th note. Sometimes you might go as fast as a 16th note. And the purpose of this delay is just to give the vocal some width and some movement and make it a little bit more unique. Okay, and it's going to help connect it not only to the center, but also to some of the guitars and the side elements by having this delay that's moving around. And if you can hear this delay, it's too much. Okay, so we're going to use the same tricks to tuck this delay into the song so we can't notice it as much. Okay, so first things first, let's pull this feedback back some more because it just goes on and on and on. It's going to muddy up our mix. So let's do that.
Or a convenient lie. Your temperature is cold while you.
Now, because this is an 8th note ping pong delay, we can go a little bit more with the feedback than the quarter note. Okay, we want it to be not necessarily as long as the quarter note, but just a little bit less, but it's going to help just glue it sonically together in that stereo image, okay? Now, we have to roll off the high frequencies or it's going to jump out of the mix. So let's do that.
While you've been painting the walls gold and you've been at it for quite a minute now, but I'm.
Okay, so right there is good, and what do you know, it's right around the same spot that I had the quarter note delay. 1.6K. Again, you could probably go up to about 2.5, 3K if you like that sound better, but be really careful because if you start having those S and T sounds jump out, those consonant sounds, it's going to distract the listener. And it's really easy to hear that when it's jumping around left and right, okay? All right, so then let's do the same thing. We're going to add a high-pass filter, and we're just going to roll off all the low energy on this and make it kind of more like telephony again.
You've been painting the walls gold and you've been at it for quite a minute now, but I'm watching
Cool.
you.
That sounds good to me. I think it's still a little bit loud in the mix, so we'll roll this way back. We shouldn't be able to hear it, okay? So when we have everything playing, we'll pull the send effects back until we just can't hear it in the song. Like right that moment that we can't hear it, then roll it back a tiny bit more. And then that's the perfect level. Because when you go into master the song and you start raising the volume, it's going to lift up all these delays and then they're going to get really loud, okay? So you want to be really careful with how loud you set that up because you can really ruin a mix really fast by having your delays too loud.
Circling the skies above, licking my chops because I know you pass by the warning smiles ago.
Okay, so right around here, I have a hard time hearing it in the context of the song. Okay, so I want to dial it back a little bit more. So like right around here. Let's listen to the verse because it's a lot less dense and we want to make sure that we don't hear that. Perfect. All right, so that's 2 delays that I use on pretty much every single vocal. This third one is a cool little trick I love to use when the vocals don't feel like they're big enough. Okay, and we need something to make them a little bit more larger than life. And this is kind of a crazy thing, but I want you to definitely experiment with it because it can really make a vocal pop in a song. Again, we're gonna make another send bus, okay? It's gonna be stereo again. And this time, we're going to put on just a stereo delay. Now, it's important that it's stereo because we're gonna have a different delay parameters on the left side and the right side. So pick a side. What I like to do is maybe a quarter note, sometimes even a half note. And on the other side, we're gonna do something like a 16th or a 32nd note. Let me show you what this sounds like because it's pretty crazy.
For the truth or a convenient lie.
You know what I forgot to do? I forgot to take this mix and make them totally wet. So don't forget that. Okay, I know that sounds insane, okay? Just bear with me a little bit longer. What we want to do is we want to adjust the feedback so that both of these delays basically end at about the same time, okay? So the quarter note delay or the longer delay, you're going to have a lot less feedback. The shorter delay, like this 16th note delay, you're going to need to increase the feedback to make it about the same length as that quarter note. So this quarter note delay is still longer than this 16th note. So let's increase the feedback here, decrease this feedback. Okay, that's closer. Again, we don't want this to be super long.
Or a convenient lie.
Because this is even more insane than the ping pong delay, we're going to probably want to filter it a little bit more. But it really is going to come down to the mix, right? So if you want a little bit of high frequencies in there, just to kind of give it a little bit more air and space, you can do that, experiment, but typically those S sounds are going to really screw us up. So I tend to, more often than not, roll this all the way back to about, 1.5K or so. So let's do that for both of these delays. And then again, let's clean up those low frequencies so that they don't muddy up the signal. Right now, what we have is a delay that is doing all sorts of stuff, but they're texturally different on the sides. So it's going to add this sense of larger than life space to the vocal. It's going to make the world of a difference for your track. So let's dial this in. And again, we're just going to roll this volume back until we can just barely pick it out and then a touch more, and then that's it. And then we'll combine all 3 of these delays and check the levels. And I bet you're going to hear that the vocal has this huge increase in width, and it's glued now to the instrumentation. So let's dial that in.
Reaching to the zenith for the truth or a convenient lie. Your temperature is cold while you've been painting the walls gold, and you've been.
And we can actually put more high frequencies in that 16th note delay because of it being so quick. And that just kind of helps give it another sense of space. So let's keep going. I think we need to dial it back a little bit more.
But I'm watching you, circling the skies above.
All right, so right there I think is perfect. Let's hear what it sounds like in the mix. Way too much.
circling the skies above, licking my chops because I know they'll pass by the warnings miles ago.
So like right here again, I'm having a hard time hearing it. So a tiny bit more brings us to about right here. All right, let's bring all those delays in and listen to what it sounds like so you can hear what it does to this song.
Can eyes pour over troubled ones, ready to read between the lines?
Now I'm gonna take them all out.
Dread of fictional horizon, reaching to the
Okay, so let's listen to just the vocal now.
seas pour over to read between the lines. Dreaded a fictional horizon, reaching to the zenith for the truth.
And then in context in the chorus.
Well, you've been painting the walls gold, and you've been at it for quite a minute now, but I'm touching yours. Circling the skies above, licking my chops because I know they'll pass by the warnings miles ago. But I'm watching.
You can just hear that with those delays in, everything is just like glued together in a beautiful way. And then without those delays, the vocal just sounds kind of isolated by itself and in front. And it's really doesn't feel connected to the song as a whole. So do you use any of these same vocal delay tricks in your music? Let me know in the comments below. I'm really curious to hear your thoughts about that crazy delay that I have with the quarter note and the 16th note on the sides that just is kind of really odd, but somehow makes a vocal sound larger than life. I want to remind you that I have that free vocal delay tricks guide that you can download in the description. So if you like what you saw and you want a few extra tricks to try out, go and check that out, download it, and let me know what you think. If you made it this far, thank you so much. Be sure to hit the thumbs up because it tells YouTube that this video is actually helpful and it's going to show it to more people. And if you want to be notified when I drop new videos every single week, don't forget to hit that subscribe button. With that, I want to thank you so much for your time and attention today, and I hope to see you in another video.